Welcome back, everybody, for another episode of the Orange Card, Blue Card podcast. I'm your host, Sam Tate. I am here with the UnReal, UnFun Jose Norono, who has just won the last regional license exam for North America. Jose, thank you for joining me.
No problem, Sam. Thank you for inviting me. It's good to be the blue card to your orange card, however, whichever of us happens to be the one.
I guess I am on the left, huh? You would read it left to right.
It's different because, Are you more of a blue card player or an orange card player?
Oh, I definitely am a blue card player if I had to pick one.
Yeah?
Like, if I could make a deck that had no attacks in it, like, absolutely in a
You
heartbeat.
would. You 100% would. Yeah.
It's funny, it was around the time that Tokoyami was doing really well in set 1, and especially like right when set 2 hit and Tim Keefe won with it, that I was starting to regret the name choice. Just because I'm like, man, this is a literal like tournament winning deck in our game now, and I hate playing against it.
You would see Tim's board, and it would literally be orange, blue, orange, blue, orange, blue, blue, blue. It's like...
Yeah, and like normally, I really enjoy the actions that stay in the card pool too. Like, I think that like the remove cost and like the whole idea that like this action doesn't leave the card pool, therefore it's vastly underwhelming, is really sad actually. But we're at a point where the entire game is about playing more cards, right? It's all about just pretty much sheer volume, and there's a few archetypes that have one big attack, but there's no healthy medium, I don't think. There's no just like solid stats on a few cards, right?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, that's how it always has been. You know, in a format that has mostly fair cards, the best way to cheat is to play the most fair cards that you can, right?
I could get behind that.
If that makes sense.
You say fair cards and it triggers me a little bit, but that's preference.
Fair cards. It's not like we are sending out 3 insane dunks in a row, where the first one opens you up, the second one pokes you, the third one kills you, right?
So, I do think Tokoyami fits that a tiny bit. I do think that on average, Tokoyami is playing 3 dunks on you to win, but he's playing 7 cards total.
Yeah, the problem actually comes when Tokoyami finds that the medium between the both, right? When he is able to send the 5 attacks at you, because they were all 10, right?
5 attacks and 3 actions that help you pass
3 actions, yeah.
Like,
you're doing the math and it's like, how did he get that one? Yeah.
Yeah. There is an objective beauty to it. If you go back and you watch Marcus win Omaha, while Mark Tyner did check really poorly, there is an objective beauty to him using literally every card in his hand to do it, including plus Ultra. Like, a card that stays in the card pool, and we don't typically see in Tokoyami's very often, but it doesn't count towards progressive.
Yeah, people really enjoy that aspect of I had to use everything in my hand to get you. And, man, we are going to get a lot of that in this next set. We are going to see a lot of I used the last card in my hand to get you, and I didn't get you, I'm open, I think. Yes. Thanks to a few fan favorites coming back, right?
Yeah, and now we're not going to be playing them all, right? Now we have so many good discard outlets, which is something I was looking for in sets 1 and 2. There were so many decks I would play where I'm like, God, if I could just turn one of these cards in my hand into 1 speed, I would be great. Yeah. Now I'm going to turn it into like 2 speed and 2 damage, like...
Yeah, we are all decked with 2 on this beautiful day, you know?
Yeah.
Funnily enough, in good Giro, I was so desperate for like a good discard outlet that I had to satisfy myself with the absolute dumpster fire that is preparing for a battle.
Damn.
Because all I want is to get this asset into my discard pile. I need it right here. I need this foundation or this asset to be the top card of my discard pile, and I don't want to tap 1 to do it.
Okay. That's super funny. Yeah. I thought it was strictly because it's just the other card on the good symbol that draws a card. I never even thought about the discard outlet, which at the same event you played Jiro at, I played Denki, and like my big brain 5-head, reveal was, I need to discard my 6 checks and my assets for cost all the time.
Yeah. Like, you get it, right? It's that matter of I need to pay this cost. I don't need to get this effect. I just need to be able to pay this cost, right?
It didn't register for me with the assets because typically when I need the asset in my discard pile, it was during Unwavering Slash, which is the most standard fucking card, the most Universe's standard level card they printed, I think.
Yeah. And, for me, it's two. For me, that's between two cards, actually.
Yeah? What's the other one?
Creepy Realization.
Oh, okay. I would say Creepy Realization could be up there, but as a forward check, and the fact that the plus and or minus, when it comes to standard power level, plus and or minus is actually a little weak just because it opens up more cancels. So, like, I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
But as far as, like, uncapped bonuses go and the fact that you can, like, do crazy stuff, like, it's super weird because I love the payoff for cards in your card pool.
Yeah.
I love comboing off non-attack cards, like comboing off block zones, comboing off other card types. All that stuff is super cool, but it's always been cool with the caveat that you have to play with it. You have to play with that difficulty. And if you're not, you're using really specific cards that aren't useful in other ways. Like One-Man Wolfpack. It's a 0 difficulty foundation that you're probably almost never using the enhance on. Or is it the form? I can't remember, but its main peel, its only real draw in that deck is it doesn't count towards progressive to play attacks.
Yeah, it's like Earrings exists just to justify the rest of the kit, right? Leona's Earrings?
Yes.
Yeah.
The Leona's Earrings, like, are one of the coolest. The Earring Bomb, one of my favorite designs, because it's an action with multiple keywords and a character that cares about combos, and it's another way to remove cards from the card pool, which is really strong, but it's super situational. Your opponent has to let you do it.
To be fair, playing response is a good way to get that out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's a little repetitive, right, with Leona Blade, which is fine because again, like, it's the ways that you're getting these cards out of your card pool is based on your opponent trying to do things. So if your opponent is walking into it, it creates emergent gameplay because you have to think, okay, they have something else, right? Like they have something that they want to power through, and then you get a legitimate mind game. And then on top of that, I could go forever. We're gonna get stuck on KF 13. Leona's playstyle, and because it's a team-based game, one of her biggest things is actually denying characters who generate meter. So, like, she's a great second and a great leadoff character.
Don't worry about KOF. We're gonna get there when we talk about set 3.
We're for
sure gonna get there.
Yeah, so like her whole kit actually just works super well, and it's funny because as time goes on, I'm not certain that, like, while there were fans of KOF who obviously worked on the set, I don't know how much they understand how they hit the nail on the head with, like, the competitive style of the characters. And it's purely because KOF is a team-based game that, like, characters have really specific functions. Whereas, like, if you're playing Street Fighter or Tekken, your character has to have a myriad of tools. In KOF, your characters fit roles. So
I definitely felt that with King.
Yeah. Sure. King's one of the best. Like, King and Kim are actually the best designs I've ever seen in universes as far as thematically fits their source material.
Yeah. I want to say as a funny haha that Minetta's kind of up there because he is just an asshole, right? Everyone just hates seeing him, right?
Yeah. They said, what's the most obnoxious mechanic in the game? And the answer was water symbol. So they just...
Yeah. Well, they almost went all in with it. You know, they couldn't go full Jetta. Because to me, the most obnoxious mechanic in the game is debuilding you by giving you another resource you can't use.
Yes.
Because it's like, I'm getting a positive, and I cannot do anything with it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the Mineta 2 and Mineta 1 are very much like, okay, we know no one likes this character, so let's just give him the most unlikable traits.
So funny.
All right, well, so before we go too far, let's talk about the regional. I think that's what most people actually want to hear about. And I know you've talked on, the Brewing with the Boys, right? You've been doing the circuits, and I'm sure you've been asked a million questions. But
it's a bit of a closed circuit if we keep it in house, though, isn't it?
Fair enough.
Like I started talking about it on the regional stream that you were on, and Andrew was on. Then I talked about it on the UnFun stream where Andrew was on, and now I'm here. It's like a royal family.
Yeah, we're going through. We're doing the tour. We're on tour at this point.
Yeah.
But I have a couple specific questions that I don't get to ask on the mainstream because there's things that are really, really specific, and I think that they're going to take a little bit of time to dive into. And I gotta ask very specifically when it comes to the Toga versus Momo matchup.
Okay.
What are the cards that you're mulliganing for? I think this is something that helps new players more than even they realize personally. It's the kind of question that I love to ask people like Kevin Broberg, Tim Keefe, Garrett Bretz, and it's the kind of answer that typically you just get just a good build, even from the best players.
Of course, just a good build. The answer is just a good build, not the hand, just a good build of the card. It's new training method most of the time.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's the cards that you want to see turn 1 against Momo, turn 2, going first or second, is you want to see new training method, you want to see someone with style, and you want to see Excited for Blood.
Yeah.
Now, you might think the order I put these in is a little weird, because these are ranked, essentially.
Okay.
The card that you want to see the most is new training method, then someone with style, because these are the 2 cards that help you just keep going, and then Excited for Blood, because it is your main advantage, getting cards and getting health back generator. But what new training method does is it lets you get these 2 cards.
Okay.
Right? It lets you put them in play, and it lets you just get them for discard pile when you check them. And the way that you beat Momo is that you get ahead enough that she's not allowed to just randomly kill you, and on the crack peg, you are allowed to randomly kill her.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
See, so when I played Toga, I didn't actually play against any Momos, but my plan was to aggressively mulligan cards that were not new training method and cards that were not someone with style away for encouraging training partner. Because in my mind, the way I play, personally, I'm like, I need to have my silver bullet defensive card, which you don't really have silver bullets, that's the wrong term, but I need to have my one powerful interaction available to me so that I can play the game based around not immediately losing to one cannon blast.
Yeah, training partner is there, Because it also says that I am allowed to go a little bit into deadlock, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so this is right. This is what I was gonna talk about. Is that plan went out the window when I talked to Kevin Broberg before Pasadena, because sequencing around Quick Creation's deadlock means that encouraging training partner actually stops becoming relevant until I'm at 15 or 16 foundations again. Because because the playing around that reset, the Momo player is fine to send a 10 high for 12 at you, or probably 15 with all the little plus ones, right? They're down to send the not maxed out speed everything at you, and it actually saves them resources later in the turn. They don't have to commit with rescue and the 2 and the destroying. They get to just turn the asset sideways.
As far as I was concerned, when it comes to new training method, as long as I have release available and a bunch of foundations that I can good without.
Yes.
I am fine with new training method just getting rid of that +4 speed from the beginning, right? Because flip for -4 speed is still a really good rate, right?
Yes. Yeah, and that's the thing is playing sequencing around that is something that's so hard to do at the deck building stage.
Yeah. And to some extent, I do think that we worry about sequencing around things a little too much sometimes. Because at some point you need to stop trying to one up your opponent and just accept that you're going to do everything right and just try to get all the advantages that you possibly can, right? Whenever I play against Bromley, I'm I'm not going to be able to trick him into dumping all the speed and then do this, so I just have to do this now and just block this somehow.
I don't want this to sound rude, but when it comes to tournament play, I definitely feel there's almost always at least one point in a tournament where I've been getting away with stuff for like the entirety of Swiss rounds, and then I'll play against someone. This happened in like round 3 or round 2 in Vegas to me. I got paired against Tim Keefe, and after like 2 turns of play, I'm just like, oh wait, we're playing for real. Shit. All right.
Like, it all crumbles down, man. Yeah. It does. It all comes crashing down.
There's like a moment where like I'll check a 3 and go, oh, I actually die to this play if I pass this.
Yeah, it's crazy, dude.
And it's not meant to be rude, but it is just like the reality of the card game where you've got these matchups where you see people not pressing all their buttons, you see them not sequencing correctly, and you don't get warmed up. You don't get in the mindset.
Yeah, I think part of it, what it is an understanding that when you play against somebody and they might let you get away with something. Like we saw in the top 8, somebody sent a lethal attack against Kirishima when they were ready, and they didn't do the math considering the Kirishima response, right? Like they just went by them. They thought they had them, but they didn't, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you play against someone that's really good, or someone that knows what they're doing, there's an understanding that they're not gonna let me get away with stuff this game.
Yeah, you don't get to try it. You don't get to.
Yeah. If I try to get away with something, I'm just going to get immediately punished.
Yeah, you get to the point where like Tim Keefe is like, I have the high ground, don't even try it. And all day you've just been jumping on people. You've just been jumping from below them, and
yeah, you've just been trying to Goomba stomp people, and now you're getting your just desserts.
Yeah, it's such a weird environment to find yourself in, where you've played maybe half of a tournament, and you're like, okay, I'm 3-0, I'm 4-0. I know I'm gonna start fighting some real killers. You're like, I really have to. We're past like the training arc, right? We're about to do the time skip where everyone's gonna be coming for the throat. So, did you experience that in this regional? Was there ever like a moment where you're like, oh, I've been playing against, some softballs, maybe some easy matchups. People are just here for participation, and now all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, here's a real threat.
I almost got iced round 1, so by just like Brooks on Midnight, right? Like I almost just got midnighted for my life total, right?
Interesting.
Because it's the chaos symbol, chaos charges in Midnight. If they just draw the good ones, just throw them at you, right? Like he was like, hey man, I'm gonna play this attack. It's got stun on it. I'm going to first day of class, pillar swing on a 7, checks a 7. You blocked it. Double jab?
Yeah.
Indiscriminate shock? It's like I'm really happy I have the self sec in my hand. It's how it is, right?
I did like exactly that. I've talked about this a lot. I played against a Midnight player round 2. Yeah, because I went into Tim Keefe, I think 0-1 or something like that, but like I was on like the super run back bracket in Vegas, right? Because round 2 I was playing Ochako, and I was like, okay, I can put this Midnight player down to 8 turn 2, and I'll still have a release up, and I can build this other foundation, whatever it was, probably a someone with style, and like I'll be all right. And I end up failing the check for the someone with style, passing the turn with just a release up, and I have a faith shield and I think a home run comment, like a +1 mid in hand, because the home run would have sent for like 7 with.
Yeah, you just like, I hope they don't open with stun.
Yeah. So I'm like, if they don't open with a stun, I get to live. I get to just block one, and doing the math on all the foundations, I'm like, to make everything unblockable with Midnight Enhance, like they'd have to commit everything, check 5s, blah, blah, blah. What I did not account for was the fact that home run comment is actually fucking bananas damage.
Yeah.
You know, the one line I didn't see was indiscriminate as an opener, which gets the speed and stuns the release, and then double home run comment for the double momentum generation.
Yep.
And that ended up, and so this is what's really funny, is we were just talking about like the level up experience, right? Like where you're like, okay, no one's gonna be making mistakes anymore. There was there was a point where they were not using Stronger in Darkness on their character, like with their character committed. And I was doing the math, and I'm like, oh, if they don't do Stronger in Darkness, I just win. If they commit it, like, and it was like on the second or third attack, they started using it, and I was like, damn, there goes my chances to like squeak one out, right?
Yeah. You can always. Our game is so complicated. You can always just hope somebody misplays an accident, right?
Yeah, and it's. Yeah. I think it's kind of weird. We have a double-edged sword too, and this is kind of a different topic entirely. But like I said, we've talked so much about this matchup already, where it's fairly obvious what the Toga deck is trying to do, right? It's just trying to absolutely just put quantity out there and
on both ends. I'm trying to get maximum foundations, and then I am trying to spit them at you, right?
Yeah. You just need 2 life to get the ball rolling, right? Like. It doesn't require too much real investment like from your board. But so in our game in universes, it's complicatedness. That's not a real word, but it's the fact that it's very complicated helps, I think, a lot because there's so many things that happen at once. Nobody really wants to go through all the tiny little triggers. No one actually wants to angle shoot when and where this happens because we're just going to converse about it. I'm going to do all my stuff. You're going to do all your stuff. And as long as they don't actually interact together, they don't like immediately interact, it's fine.
Yeah. And it is. I agree with that. Yeah.
It's
with Ryan, we both had excited for blood triggers. He was like, "Hey, I'm gonna lose 2. Yeah, I'm gonna lose 2. Yeah, I'm gonna gain 4. Yeah, I'm gonna gain 4. Yeah, I'm gonna gain 1."
Yeah, and like so far right now, it doesn't actually matter where you do those things. With the way that windows work, because both the excited for blood responses respond to the same exact window most of the time. And so when I played Token Pasadena, I was like, all right, the very first time I'm going to explain exactly the correct order to do all my shit. Exactly. And then I will trust my opponent is going to tell me, yeah, bro, whatever. Shut the fuck up. Just do it.
It starts mattering a little bit. Like, things are getting interesting in this new set. Like, it starts mattering. Because we are getting a card like Petty Squabble, right?
Yes.
And Petty Squabble says, once per turn, because I think it's a commit. When your opponent activates an ability on a foundation, you can commit a copy of that card.
Yes.
So if I go loose 2 for EFB, you can go Petty Squabble, tap it, and I can't gain the life anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or they can tap another EFB that I haven't used at all yet. So like it's going to start mattering, I feel, especially for cards like Petty Squabble, for cards like the 13 foundation.
You can't escape me. Cancels a draw enhance, yeah.
Which is upsetting because it reminds me of a card that is much funnier, but whatever.
Cat red-handed?
No, the name.
Oh, you can't escape me.
This card, just this pose,
Yeah.
Mitsurugi wants you.
I mean, you can fight like you mean it all you want. I'm excited as more cancels come out. It's very interesting that they seem to avoid the specific, like, after you play an ability, that wood wording. And then we got, like, Battle Spirit, and it was like, okay, this is just, like, one card. But I think we're finally starting to see the return of their response windows after an ability is played rather than after something actually happens. Which is always a super fun conversation to explain to a new player that it's worded that way because it has to be. Because if you worded it another way, it wouldn't work via the rules.
Yeah, this matters a lot because there's a card that's been coming in a lot of questions in the Discord and in rule stuff, and it's Fierce Whirlwind.
Yes, Fierce Whirlwind is.
Yeah, that's the big one.
Funky. That's because it's after you play the ability, it destroys it, right?
Yeah. So after it destroys it.
So the ability still resolves.
Yeah, but the reason why it's funky is it's after you play an ability on a committed card.
Yes.
Right? And a lot of players
fucking cost is to commit.
Yeah. So like they're trying to wrap their head around what that means. they're trying to wrap their head around what that means because it's
But we
like
know
so
what they meant.
no, because like the card works. The card does what it says it does. Because when you play an ability, the card is ready. That's why you can play it.
Yeah.
And then it commits itself. So Raging Whirlwind,
Right.
Fierce Whirlwind cannot hit that.
Right.
And a lot of players don't get that because they haven't been, they haven't like had the nature of when a card activates like forced into their soul yet.
Well, that and because of state-based effects in games like Magic the Gathering and the way that the trigger works, the way the stack works and things go onto the stack, most of the time it would be a valid target. So I like my reaction there was because I'm like, I can see exactly why people would think that.
Well, people will be confused, right? Because it's like, people will go like pay cost.
Yeah. And then now it's committed while I'm looking at you playing an ability. But, that's actually super funny. And, like, the more inundated you get with the game and the rules, like, the more it's easy to gloss over stuff like that because, you know that when you go to play the ability, it has to say playable while committed if it's an ability played on a committed foundation. And yet it's gonna react differently so like a card, pretty much any card that says playable while committed is what it's looking for, right? Because
I don't think there's any other situation where it hits an ability that isn't playable while committed.
Yeah, because no, it would have to be because when you start to play, but so it's gonna look really funky with the cards that have responses after they're committed.
Yep. And that is where people are mostly going to get got, actually. Because you'll be like, oh, I just want to play this ability in my Summonwood style. Oh, I gained health, respond carbo loading.
Yeah.
And they're going to get got.
It's like very much meant to destroy foundations that ready themselves.
Yep.
And it's not going to get too much value outside of that because if you have like I'm trying to think of the one. There's like one card that flips while committed. But yeah, basically any other card that's playable while committed that you're gonna destroy, it's almost probably gonna be like a one-time use thing anyway. It's the effect still resolves. Destroying the source does not get rid of the effect, right?
Yeah, the situations where it isn't are devastating though. Like carbo loading, gone. Summonwood style, gone. Like you paid cost, used to the foundation, disinvented, this card is also destroyed, right? Yeah. Yeah. So like it is definitely an anti-ready your stuff card for sure. And it's really bad. It's Friend of Animals too. It hits it pretty bad because the whole point of Friend of Animals is that you commit it and then you remove it to get your momentum for free.
Yes. Yeah, that's the one I was thinking of. The Coda card. You commit it, you get the speed, and they'll just be like, it's blown up. Goodbye. If you wait till they do the other ability that's playable while committed on it, it'll be too late, right? Because it removes for cost anyway, and then the effect would still go off. So it's going to be interesting. Fierce Whirlwind has so many weird things about it. I am seeing it as like the next Frog Lashing. I'm playing this card on a 6 to ready 2 foundations. You know what I mean? Like, I'm super down for like, oh, I botched a check. I committed 2 foundations. I'll play this bitch on a 6 and like just ready them, and be ready to go. But
you are playing them like it's Hellfire Impalement, basically.
Right. That is where my mind went. Was I'm like, this is a weaker Hellfire Impalement, but it could be the second coming of Frog Lashing in our format because there's now some pretty good payoffs for destroying foundations too. On Air and Death, if I'm not mistaken, the symbol's right. Yeah, it should be Air, Chaos, Death. Yep. On Air and Death, you get Grenadier Bracers, which is just like +1 damage on every attack as long as you're destroying something. And then a card like Fierce Whirlwind that says, hey, I'm going to destroy 4 foundations, ready 4 foundations. Then I play like 1 or 2 more attacks. Grenadier Bracers now taps for 4 damage. That's an insane rate for a 1 difficulty asset.
It's good rate. But, like, I don't know how I feel about assets, Sam, to be honest. I don't know how I feel about assets in general.
So if it were me, personally...
And you are you.
And I am me. If it was me and I was running the game, designing the game, assets would almost never have playable abilities on them. That would be like my distinguishing factor between assets and foundations, because right now we have to tell people assets are exactly the same as foundations, except they don't pass for checks.
Yeah.
And it seems like such a simple and easy and narrow distinction to make. However, if the cards were functionally different, like if the cards were designed to not do anything that foundations do or not act the way that foundations typically do, I think you would see an easier time adjusting with them. You would have an easier time balancing them. Like, just look at a character like Momo Yaoyorozu, where, like, if instead of having the normal enhance, it just had, like, a continuous ability and a deadlock ability, and then, like, none of the other assets had, like, playable abilities, you know? Like, if Earphone Jack was just, like, your charge attacks get 1 speed, man. Like, you know, like, and maybe you could have the option, I guess. So, like, it's very tough. Like, Earphone Jack
just
is,
like...
House.
Huh? Just like good old House.
Yeah.
I see what you mean, though. Like, White House, you know?
Yeah. Like, they should be generally there as, like, a buff. Because, to me, the pinnacle of asset design is... it's the character's gear. 99%. It's their weapon. Yeah. It's their helmet. It's their fucking jacket. It's their clothes. And then if it's not, it's their terrain. It's their place. And terrains always have the continuous, right?
Funnily enough, I was gonna say the thing that you're talking about is like the design philosophy for terrains, right?
Yeah, and terrains do typically come with the caveat of being usable by both people. I think any terrain that does not have a symmetrical effect is like a failure in general. Like, you know, it should affect us both, and the beauty of taking advantage of that should come from the deck building, right? Pokemon Stadium cards nail that design perfectly.
Yeah, every time I see a good terrain, the reciprocal effect is like, it's like unusable by the other guy, right?
Most of the time. Graven Castle remains really goated.
Like Skull Fortress 2. Both of our ally attacks are getting 1 speed.
Right.
You're not playing those.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Yeah.
But there is some reward for, like, and this is why I love symmetrical effects in general, because there becomes a deck building reward from sideboarding. Because if I know that, like, I'm going to get bonus speed on some attacks against you, and there's a good generic ally card, like, I don't know, Hell Dunk, just like a sick filter card.
Cowbat. Just
Cowbat?
You know.
Right, like, I can slide those in from my sideboard and go, okay, these are just generically better in this matchup than they were before, and I love stuff like that. Yeah. But yeah, if it were up to me, asset cards would look a lot like equipment for your character. They would be the kind of things where you're trying to acquire them rather than specifically use them. And there's nothing wrong with their design as they are, don't get me wrong. And like, typically players want to play abilities on their cards. I just think that giving them a completely different design philosophy from the ground up would make them feel more like their own card type and less like busted foundations.
Yeah, I agree with that. You know, I'll shake on it. You know,
get the webcam shake.
Yeah, you can get the Daniel Nelson classic.
Yeah.
I agree. Like, you know, what I think of my favorite assets, it's called Fortress 2, which, you know, has a really cool response on it that interacts with you specifically. It has a cool static, a Hornbrook patch, which is busted.
Do you know how that card actually works?
I do, because your opponent has to press the button first. When it's their turn, they have to do it, or else you just get like a free ice cream cone every turn, right?
Yeah, when I first played that card was legal for a long time with Felicia. And Felicia, as you probably know by now, tormented like 2 years of competitive play by just being like, everything is fast, you can't stop me from getting momentum, there are no turn 2 kills yet. Like, turn 2 kills are super extra rare, and they're done by Felicia just getting +2 to her checks from hitting you with raw damage, like just raw attacks. even getting the 2 momentum was like super uncommon with momentum tutors, though it was possible. But so because of just the way the format was set up, after like a year of this card being legal with Felicia, one of my locals came in and said, "Oh, check this card out, bro. If you block my attack, I get momentum. Like, if you don't block my attack, you take damage and I get bonuses to my checks." And we thought that both players could play that enhanced because I was brand new to the game. So we were playing games where by turn 2, turn 3, we both had like 4 momentum.
Because you were both using it.
Right, we were both playing the enhanced because it says playable by either player.
Yeah, so it's like, so we both get to do it every attack. Yeah.
Yeah, and then when someone pointed out that once that enhanced is played, the other player can't play it, he immediately took it out of his deck because you have to commit it first. So you have to be the one to give them access to the enhance, and then after that you can do it. But I love stuff like that. I absolutely love stuff like that. If you can use Graven Castle Ruins in your deck, more power to you. I will give you that access all the time.
Yeah, which is why I'm excited for the future terrain wars of my era.
Yep, it's kind of a weird topic. I don't know. I've never seen any card gamer really talk about this, but the lack of symmetrical effects after like a 2010 2011 world where like MTG got rid of the legendary rule, Yu-Gi-Oh got rid of field spells destroying each other. Out of the big 3, I'm pretty sure Pokemon still has the stadiums where they destroy each other. I'm like 99% sure.
Yeah, but like a lot of their stadiums are no longer like true symmetrical. They're like they're not symmetrical benefits. It was like none of us have abilities.
Yes.
Basic Pokemon die.
Yes.
We both take double damage. Like it's no longer like both have like a bonus. Yeah. It's like we have infinite benches. Here's Rayquaza. It's like it's crazy stuff, right?
The last one I can remember knowing for sure was it was like water Pokemon heal 20 damage each turn or something.
Yeah.
It was like the Wailord stall deck, and you're like, well, I have to play a stadium just to get rid of that card, no matter what this fucking stadium does. As long as it's not the same stadium, I'm good.
Yeah, and like I get it because like reciprocal effects feel bad, right?
Yeah. Well, we've seen with Sports Festival Stadium, most people are too scared to run one if you don't get to just be the only person benefiting.
And you know what? Damn straight, I'm never playing that card.
It's super weird. I think it becomes more relevant, and like I see more people trying it. I think there was a Shigaraki who damn well had 4 copies mainboarded, and
was that in?
He was playing float combo though.
Yeah, I think that was Restart either doing that or it was Constantine at Rochester that was just doing that.
Okay, yeah.
And it's like I get it. You know, this card protects float combo. It makes float combo do 7 instead of 6. It draws you a card when they block. The card does so much, right? Yeah.
Gets rid of the face shield on it.
Yeah, when you think about it, when you look at Stadium, it does so much. It's such a insane. We were complaining about that card because it did so much when it came out, but it has the caveat that if you play it, you might be dead.
Yeah,
especially against a string deck. Like if you play that deck and you run against Gamer Toga, you're about to get gamed on, right? You're dead. You're gone. Bye, right?
Thank
and
God
that's why when I played it, I had Unwavering Flash because it just let me cheat it in. It was the only way I was like comfortable with running that card.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
And so the big thing with Unwavering Slash was it's a unique card, or like effectively with the terrain keyword, but that allowed me to do it multiple times a turn because the biggest thing was, you know, if my opponent had 2 Faith Shields, like, cool, I still can't win, right? Like you Faith Shield, my attack is danky, I discard it from the card pool, I get to draw a card, and then you get to still Faith Shield me later in a turn, right? You still get to Faith Shield me, like, on the winning game. Rascally, thank you for the subscription. Woo! Thank you for the resubscribe, man. I really appreciate the support.
Thank you. There he is. Right.
I think he's officially my first resub, so that's
awesome.
Thank you very much. We're one step closer to playing Oswey 2 at a competitive event. I might end up having to play Osui at like webcam nationals if I hit the sub goal. So.
Oh no!
Just tank my chance at Worlds.
That is what that does, right? It lets you go Jolt, into unwavering, into the attack that you want to hit, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So like the biggest thing about it was if I only had access to one sports festival, it wasn't that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Because it's not that hard for decks like Kirishima and Toga at the time. I don't think Momo was really popping off yet. This is like the second regional in set 2 or something.
That was that was the first time. That was the birth of Momo, if that makes sense. Because that was
in Orlando?
When Kevin showed up with Cannon Blast, Momo, right?
Yeah. So
and Nate was there with Staff Strike Momo, and Broberg was there with his real Momo, and it was like, be gone, you know. I saw it. It happened. It was real. Yeah.
We're done with this. We're done with Staff Strike. It's like the "I'm done playing with you" meme, right?
Yeah, exactly. It was like, yeah, that was like the birth of Momo, and like, Stadium was so good in that format for Denki because it let you do one more damage with all your strings, and it let you get your once per game off, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, really quick, congrats, Rascally, on your performance at the last event. I should have said that when you resubbed. I was really hyped to see you on stream. So before I forget, but yeah, so going back to Orlando, the big thing with Unwavering Slash was it was just giving you multiple copies of unique cards, which it had never really done before. Like getting a second copy of Earphone Jack was just kind of the like you're readying so much already, right? Like I'm Unwavering ready something, Earphone ready something, that I'm going to build a second Unwavering and then like ready or second Earphone Jack and then raise something else. Like that wasn't that big of a deal just yet. But Sports Festival was the first time we had like a one per use unique effect that just was massive. And I loved playing that Dinky deck because what we talked about earlier where like I could play every card in my hand. To win games, I typically had to play 9 cards in a turn.
Yeah, like you had to.
Yeah. You know, Kirishima was so good defensively. Asui was so good defensively. I didn't actually play into a Momo, thank God, but I probably would have gotten fucked by one. And
no. Actually, that matchup was so weird because Denki's in hands is so cracked, right?
Yes.
Yeah. But keep going, yeah.
Well, so yeah, at the time I wasn't sure. With Sports Festival out, it does make you want to block a bit more. But the big thing that deck was weak to was self-sacrifice. Self-sacrifice was massive into that deck because...
yeah. Like, they minus your damage and you're like, I'm an idiot. What am I doing?
Right. It became a really big thing where... Because I had to play those 9 fucking cards, if all of them are 1 less damage, if you were... basically getting rid of Sports Festival Stadium's bonus damage and getting rid of Committed Foundations for 1.3 million, which I was trying so hard not to rely on all the time. But against a character like Momo, I feel like that's, you know, that's kind of where you're at, where, you know, she can wait around to actively deny that response. So it's tough. Luckily, the biggest thing is even with one sports festival, I can be really conservative and just use it on the one jolt. So even if it's 1-to-1, you have one face, you'll have one. I still get to win. So I think it still has a ton of value. It's just, it's so hard to survive one turn in decks that need sports festival. Uh-oh.
So my camera goes up, Larry. There we go.
Yeah, we got the refocus going. So like the biggest takeaway for me with seeing the Shigaraki decks with Sports Festival to me was you're not blocking big strings. You're like denying the big strings with resource denial, and I just don't think it's there right now. So to me, if I'm playing Sports Festival, I'm playing it in a water deck that is going to take 0 damage average.
Yeah, like I get why they were running it because they were relying on float combo, which I personally don't like. But like, if you need to protect the combo, you have to. I really need the 7 damage, man. I'll do anything for it. It's like, yeah, I understand it. That makes sense. You know, everybody always wants to block Shigaraki. You're basically playing with like a slightly more cracked copy of Agitation.
Yes. Yeah. Like, specifically counters certain stuff. I really want to play Snipe with it. I want to play Snipe with Sports Festival, and I want to play Electric Jolt in Snipe. Like, there's so many weird little things you can stack up.
It's so cool, but like the card is reciprocal. Like, you might die because of it.
You have to eat their jolts.
Yeah, like Kevin won't stop talking about the one time that he was watching David Pena on stream and he died to exact lethal thanks to Festival, right? On O2.
Andrew and I casted it. Andrew said, "Look at this. This attack isn't lethal if we didn't take." It was like 5 extra damage. We got hit by 5 attacks or something, and like partial blocking against it is super rough. So,
I think that was me. I think I did that.
That probably was, considering how many attacks you played.
I think that was me. Yeah.
So like, and I don't know if you saw the commentary for that. It's a huge VOD. So like, when we were watching that Shigaraki match on stream, Andrew was talking about like, where did all the Shigarakis go? We had like 16 per tournament, and then one of them tops, and they all disappeared. And my personal take on it was specifically that when you topped, your list was so actually different than like 99% of Shigarakis that they looked at their deck and went, "Oh, I don't want to play this. I want to play float combo." Like, they looked at your deck and went, "He's not running sports festivals or float combos or like any of the really greasy Shigaraki cards," and they just went, "Well, my deck is totally different," you know?
Are you saying that they went like, "Oh, he's the Messiah. He knows how to play the cards that we like. Let's look at it." And they clicked, and they saw no float combo, no agitation, no festival, and when they went, "Oh, well, fuck that guy," and then they left. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think that's it. I think they went, "I've been playing this Shigaraki deck for so long that this one's completely different," and they had to like reevaluate their whole life as a Shigaraki player.
Oh no! Don't tell me that. I was thinking the something different. I was thinking that they all wanted to be the one.
Yeah, I think that was Andrew's take too.
Yeah, if they all wanted to be the one that does it, and then they got their fire stolen from under them. Like, fuck this guy, dumps him in the trash.
Yeah, yeah. That was my thing. I was like, he's not playing the bread and butter Shigaraki stuff, so maybe that just made people like. It like, because I can imagine, especially if I was a newer player, or if I was someone who just joined with MHA, and I was a Shigaraki specialist, and I think that this makes so much sense, because it makes perfect sense. Float combo is really fast. Even like, I take on average 9 damage from float combos.
Yeah.
You know,
it usually
like,
does 9. It's a 5-3 move. Yeah, for sure.
Like blocking 3 damage off of it feels like shit to completely block a 6-high attack. And then all of a sudden, the one that has the most success looks like nothing what I was doing. That can, because like, personally for me, like deep down inside of me, there is a part of me that is upset that Gamer Toga is the life symbol Toga, because it is doing exactly what the death symbol Toga that I made at the beginning of set 2 does, just 10 times better, right? But it's okay because it's so similar.
Just wait for stun grenade, man. It's okay.
What?
You just wait for stun grenade. It's okay. Just wait for it.
Right. Well, I'm just saying, like,
literally give it a day. Okay.
Yeah. Like, the whole time I was playing it, I'm like, man, I just need more damage. I'm playing 4 copies of brute strength.
You know, we who are so used to the ways of UFS, we're like, I need more damage. Death should have more damage. Where's my damage? Life shouldn't have repeatable damage. That's a life's thing. It's, you know. And then you look at life, and it was like +1, +1, +1, +1, +1. And it was like, oh.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing was that, to me, like, the whole appeal of the deck was to draw through my whole deck, like, to play price for peace. So, like, a big part of it was being locked in on the death symbol because of one card. But if I wasn't locked in on price for peace, and I was just saying, how do I put the most damage out as Toga, I would look at these fucking infinity symbol cards in my deck and go, oh, okay, because it's not like I'm not fucking on camera on YouTube saying, wow, life is insane because you just tutor all these +1 damage effects, you know? It's just, by that time, I had canned my Gravedigger Toga deck because the price for peace build wasn't working. It wasn't about how do I get +1s in Toga. It was about how do I play price for peace.
Yeah, because, you know, I know Sam, and Sam doesn't want to win through normal winning conditions. He wants to win through to his 5-card combo that he accumulated, right?
I don't
He
even
wants
really
to.
want to win. I just want to do it to you
No, he
once.
just wants to do it. Yeah, I get it. And like when you win, before you get to do the thing, you're like, oh, I didn't want to do that. I do feel.
Don't
Yeah, I feel a little bad.
don't get me started on premature winning. It is the worst thing to complain about of all time.
I feel a little bad because at the beginning of set 2, I was giving you a little crap for forcing alleyway ambush.
Yeah, like
I was because I was like, Sam, why you keep trying to play bad cards like alleyway ambush?
and almost all the games I won with that Toga deck, right? That Death Toga deck. Almost every game I won with it, I won before I priced for Peace. I won before I had 5 cards in my card pool, right? Like, it was never those cards making it work. What was making it work was putting +1 speed and +2 damage on everything through Tight-Lipped and Brute Strength. And so, if... And this is something I would love to talk about at length, and it's something that's really interesting to me. Even competitively, not like casual versus competitive, but just in general, when you're trying to build competitive decks, I think there's 2 types of deck builders. There are people who are specifically trying to break a card, and they're trying to make like a combo that's so good that they would have to ban it or deal with it or whatever. And I think I fall into that category. Like, I want to be someone who has one specific interaction that is actually so good that it wins me the game, and that's like a typical combo player. That's like what combo and Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh really looks like.
Yeah.
And then you have people who want to just build a statistically best deck. We want, you don't necessarily have anything busted. It's just you want to be able to play better parts of the game at all times than your opponent. And I think statistically, like, those are obviously the better decks. Those are the more likely to find decks, and those are the decks that I find Kevin Broberg and Jacob Johnson playing. Like, Jacob Johnson has an All Might deck that is offensive, defensive, mid-range. It's a wall deck. It's whatever it needs to be because he's locating just the best cards to play at any time. Do you find that you fall into one of those 2 categories when deck building?
When I deck build, I'm the worst person to ask this question because when I deck build, I look at a guy that I think is cool and I just want to play him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I look at Wen and I love the aesthetic. I love what he does. I love his face. So I just want to make Wen, and I just iterate Wen until he works.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even about finding the playstyle, trying to break the card. I'm just trying to find the deck that does something. Because all my builds of Wen were so bad until he finally just clicked somehow, right?
Yeah.
Or like when I play Kuwabara, I'm playing Kuwabara not because I want to be like a competitive meta threat. I just don't want to die turn 2. So I just make a deck that cannot get cheesed. You cannot cheese me. I am uncheesable, right?
And then Dark Chirito existed.
Nah, dude, I am uncheesable. I got flips for the card pool. Like, you can't get me like that, Sam. I got. Wait, we played this. We played this out. You was in DC, and I would just block with precise flip. But like when I build a deck, I'm just trying to do what I like to do, right? I'm trying to play like a character that I like. That's usually it. I don't get attached to individual cards very often. I get attached to characters.
Yeah, for me, I get attached to defensive cards.
I feel you. Yeah, that makes sense to me. Like, one of my favorite cards of all time is Woodman's Leaf Shield, for multiple reasons. But the -2 damage is a big part of it, right?
Yeah, for me, I'm just looking for one interaction that makes my opponent want to straight up quit. Like, I
am a water player.
Yeah,
I get that. Because like when you win with aggro, like you feels good. It's like, oh yeah, I sequenced that very well. When you win through defense, you feel like the king of the world because defense is so hard, but it is so rewarding.
Yeah, it's
right. Yeah.
So the way I look at it is that typically it's like defense requires more skill than, or so how do I put this? This is really tough because attack. So this is how I look at it. Defense really tests your skill, and I think offense really tests your risk, if that's the way to put it. Because I think that they both require luck, right? Like, they both require variance. I don't think luck is really like a part of it.
They're both based on variance, yeah.
Yeah, but identifying what is worth taking the risk for, I think is really important because when we watched Daniel Nelson play, we talked a little bit about this on the stream as well, where one thing I really liked was the call where like Dan won't make a play that has the potential to lose him the game. Yeah. Like you have a play that's like, okay, it could win me the game, but if it fails, it loses me the game. But there's lots of
he just doesn't take those. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's lots of plays that people make where it doesn't win me the game, but it might lose me the game. But even if it doesn't win me, it gets me really far ahead, right? And that is call back, bring it full circle. When I played against that midnight player that I was just talking about earlier, where I was like, I can put you to 8 and I'm in a great spot. Like, it was never worth the risk. It was actually never worth it because I'm not winning the game here on the spot. Like, I passed the check. I played it. I put him to 8. There was just no reason to ever do that.
I have moved onward playing UFS. I have become more comfortable with taking that win the game risk.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like to, because everybody loves winning when they are so far ahead. It was like, oh, look, I checked the 3. You know, we'll love to do that. We'll love to be so far ahead than to tell your opponent, hey man, I'm gonna roll straight 3s and it's not gonna matter. Air ground smash. You know, like we'll love that feeling, but like a lot of the times we don't get to really do that. Like sometimes you have to be like, if I checked 3 3s here, I lose. Yeah. But if I send 3 alleyways, there's no way. Like it just kills you, and you just have to like take that risk, right?
Yeah.
A lot of those, like, that's how I felt going against Ibarra turn 2. I felt like I don't have to do this. But, like, I feel comfortable enough on the crackback, and I feel like if I feel like this line does it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because, like, a lot of the times, I'm not doing math on damage. I'm not a math player. I don't do that. A lot of times when I do math, it's about foundations.
Mm-hmm.
Like, red foundations, how many foundations do I need in here? Like, it's about activation of abilities. That is when I actually do the math. Like what you were saying with like cards in deck and with like doing the release to bump my foundation number up. But when it comes to damage, I just look at my hand and go, yeah, that's probably it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like a lot of the best decks I've played, and I'm super jaded. I can be the first person to tell you I'm super jaded, especially when it comes to this card game. But like when it comes down to it, I feel like 99% of the time, the vast majority of the time, if I'm playing a good deck, if I'm playing like a meta relevant deck and I'm not doing stupid shit like when I played Order Denki, that deck is actually so fucking bad. Reciprocal Burst alone carries such a shitty deck. It's insane. Like it's
that card sucks, man. It really does.
It's a 51. It was a 51 card deck with like 12 cantrips if you include calling for backup or whatever the Ida one, and like I'm literally just sending trash cards out at you because you have to wait for burst. You don't get to do anything until I burst or until I jolt to set it up, right? So like So when it comes to offense, a really good deck, I feel like the offense is mostly on rails. Like, and again, it's not to say that there's not skill in attacking or skill in like, you know, identifying the correct lines and strings and baits and things like that. But I'm saying that like generally, if my offense is good enough, I can just play things out in an order. I can just hit all my buttons, right? I can just like 1 or 2 activations I might need to wait for and put in the right spot. But generally, I'm going to identify the order of like the easiest way to play the most cards before my finisher, and then I just have to run that out, you know, and it comes down to my opponent to give me a reason to stop attacking.
Right.
What happened?
That makes sense to me. Like, that makes sense to me.
So
there's a difference between a deck that just has to draw the good ones and a deck that has to draw the good ones in the right order, right?
Right, and that's the thing is, like, if I look back competitively, Felicia was a deck that was just going to play whatever attacks it had because she gets momentum. So all the best ones are the cantrip attacks. You know, she had, like, some cantrips. She had, like, cards that would add foundations to her hand, and Garrett Brett would use that perfectly. Like, he would use that so well to rebuy stuff. It was, like, hard. She had, like, a hardened jab in her fucking kit almost. And so like, Yeah, she would pick up a foundation, then she'd have one that would like build from momentum. It was super weird. You could you could pick up a foundation, put it in your momentum, and then build it back face down with like the next attack. Like she could do that shit. So, not that that was the way to use any of those effects, just possible. But so like in a deck like that, you're probably gonna play your least impactful defensive attacks, like the ones with the worst blocks. Then it had Robert Kick, which is basically a gigantic explosion with a +0 mid block. And so you have to play a kick before that. So you just play a non-Nivos kick or any kick, even Nivos. Then you play it. Then you get rid of their best foundations. And then you play Nivos and you win. Like the deck's offense was so good that you can have these very repeatable, very consistent lines. And that's what typical deck building looks like in most card games. And so I think that that's really where you want to be. You want your offense to be quote unquote on rails. Would you say the gamer toga is like that? Because like, how often were you sending an alleyway ambush as your first attack to like pivot and do something new?
If all I can do is send an alleyway ambush, I would often just not attack. Right. I would rather just not attack. Right. But like, because we're insightful, there's always the chance to draw the good ones later on in the turn, right? I would say that Toga's offense is a little bit on rails, in the sense that as long as you can find the attacks, you just throw them out, right?
Well, and
there is a sense of understanding, like, I'm not going to play Kronenfrag on a 7, doesn't make any sense, right?
Right, exactly. Like, that's like the whole, I have to draw them in the right order, but once you have them, and that's the thing is, like, decks where you have to, like, pivot and do things in a weird order, like you have to do like there's like this one combo I was looking at where I have to play like Kronenfrog second and Tokoyami 2, and I was like, this seems really strong when I do it, and then when I was actually playing the deck, it was just better to like Kronenfrog into a different string, like just resource wise,
Yeah, I would definitely say Toga's offense is a little bit on rails. Like if I draw a bunch of punches or Rock Strike works, then like a tongue whip, then like the alleyways. It is a very simple combo. It's not like, I'm trying to think of an example of complicated offense.
So to me, when it comes to like a complicated offense, it's ones with like really powerful one-time use effects, and typically that comes from like momentum, and just trying to decide where to put that. Like it doesn't sound complicated, but a card like Let's Fight Bad Guys, you have to put that on the correct attack, and everyone puts it on their first attack, and it's simply because in those lineups, the first attack dealing damage is usually like the real threat because of instant explosive release. That's like the main mind game until they confirm or deny that you have it.
Or Shiki just really wants to hit you once and pass, things like that.
The more you make them want to block that first one, the more information you get about other attacks dealing damage. And the reason I end up flipping it on my first attack is because then it's a face down to commit. If I check poorly, I have to commit it and get no value. That's not a recipe for success. So I think like powerful one-time use offensive abilities add to that, which is why all the best decks don't fuck with those. All the best decks play floating around my babies. I genuinely speaking, I complain about numbers getting bigger than +1s and -1s, and like power creep and stuff like that. Like we're seeing +4, -4 a lot, but it's once per turn, and that's supposed to be like the balancing factor. But like, if I can get 2 or 3 of those out, like it's gonna be super relevant. But at the same time, I was trying to think to myself, at what number would I run a card that has no ability other than E-commit plus damage? At what number would you put that in a deck? It's any attack. It's not keyword gated. It is, I'll say it's a 2 difficulty, 5 control, and its only ability +3 mid block, E-commit plus X damage to your attack. What?
I have the answer in standard.
Oh yeah, what's the answer in standard?
5.
5, which doesn't exist, right?
Massive size.
Massive size doesn't count.
Then
massive size is super.
Then you get the actual answer, which is Marshall Banana.
Marshall Banana is commit for up to 5.
Yeah.
Right, it's max 5. Yeah, there you go. So Marshall Banana, not a card I would have ever fucking run in standard.
Nope. No. I played it in good use case because I loved having fun.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I got dumped on it by JJ. I think the first time I ever played against JJ, he was playing Jet with it, and it was like early Bebop, and he got second place at that PTC. And I remember being so upset that turn 2, he turned a Foundation sideways for +4 damage, and being like, what is this garbage? And then, like, as we adjusted to the format and shit, it was like, oh, this still isn't even, like, playable.
Yeah. No, but you might lose to it. So, like, I think 5 is the number, because it is the number where, like, I'm confident putting this card in my deck. Especially if I can ready it, because I love playing Massive Size, because it makes my win guns for 12, right? It's crazy good.
Yeah, massive size is only fake because you have to play it in 5-handers, and most 5-handers aren't really real 5-handers. When is though?
Yeah, when is a real ass 5-hander, dude? I have these 5, right? But like I think 3 is a decent number for my hero, right? 3, I might consider it at 3. Repeatable +3 damage is pretty good.
3 is when I start using it at non-response speed.
Oh, wait, response speed was on the table?
No, response speed is not on the table. I'm just saying that if it's a response speed kind of a thing, I can get down with like 1s and 2s, like heroic lineage. Like you can, it's easier to choose when to use that.
Yeah, but like if a 2-div is like +1 damage -2 speed, I am never using one of those modes, right?
Yes, yeah. Like it, even if it's like. You can even get to the point where you're like, oh, well, it's for game, and it's like, yeah, but I'm not putting this in my deck. Like, I'm not getting, like, how many times am I going to get to that point, right? So, I was
especially trying to think, my hero. Yeah, go ahead.
And I was trying to think of this with my hero, because theoretically that number could be smaller, but I looked at a card like, was it Harden, where it's like +3 to a hardened attack, but it has another sick ability.
+3 to a hardened attack.
Yeah. And
then it's got a sick on block effect.
Yeah. And then the only way I'm using that card is to block high attacks.
It's to block high attacks and build it down, dude. That's it.
It gets really inky when they start putting 3 damage on hardened chops, and that's cool. But like 99.9% of the time, that card is blocking high for me. And I was looking at, I think it's not... Maybe it's finally awake. There's a Bebop starter deck card that says destroy this attack gets 4 damage. Strictly unplayable. Like never gonna fucking. I think Scott Sunman tried to run it at one point.
Yeah, he tried a lot of things. The card's horrible. It's bad. He's just not good.
We were making unblockable decks with that card in it, and it was still just like, this is too many pieces. And I would love to find a number where I could play just an E-commit plus damage card and feel good about it. And I think you're right. I think massive size is kind of it, because it goes into kind of decks where you're so starved for dealing damage that you're going to be playing evasive attacks almost exclusively. And with evasive attacks, your damage pump becomes good. Like Harden with Tape Swing is way different than Harden with Harden Chop, even though it gives more damage to Harden Chop, right?
Yeah, I think 3 is a good number as long as the card does something else.
Yes.
An example for me is Shaolin Fighter.
Okay.
Which is +3 damage or stun 2. I hate Mortal Kombat. That set is stupid. But it also, on Desperation, lets you get rid of momentum for -4 damage, right? Play well committed. So you're always incentivized to use it to get your stun or your 3 damage. People would say, like, oh, I always get stunned. I would oftentimes get 3 damage because I'm putting it on a throw, or they're already tapped out, or like I don't think committing these 2 matter at this point. You just need the damage in, so it's like it's a good mode. And
or you formed with when?
Yeah, sure. Cheating.
Just
but like, I either form with when or I hit them with 2 lightning shots. That's stun. 7? Yeah. And like. Being able to ready a commit for damage is so good. It's so huge, right? An example is God of Thunder, which taps for 2, which isn't a good rate or a 3-div, but like it readies itself. So it's like being able to do this is so huge, right? Yeah. Maybe that 4 damage is all you need.
Well, and of course, right, it comes with so much versatility in its other effect. You can tack E-commit plus 2 damage on like every foundation in the game, and people will find ways to use that, you know. Yeah. But I'm looking at like Girl Like Any Other, right? Like let's take a card like a Girl Like Any Other, where it is a 1/5 E-commit -3 speed, minimum 1, which kind of a weird thing, but you know, that's all it does. So I'm looking for the offensive version. I'm looking for like what would I need to do to make a card.
I have a sneaky answer.
Like I want to make an offensive card that is hopefully not 1 difficulty, that is not repeatable, and it only gives damage. It doesn't give speed.
I have a very sneaky answer.
Okay.
Dr. Wily's challenge.
Dr. Wily. Doesn't that give damage when it's destroyed?
Taps for +2 damage.
Oh, okay.
And when it's destroyed, it either gives 2 damage or -2 speed.
Okay, all right.
It actually, it kind of taps and destroys for 4.
Yeah.
Or it taps for 2 and later on becomes -2 speed.
And that one's really good because you can tutor it, and it's a deck that wants to destroy things and replace it. So, yeah, that's not bad. But that's still requiring other cards to make it work, right? We're still.
That's the thing. That's the thing. It does. It is. A Girl Like Any Other is crazy.
They should reprint it. I don't give a fuck. Reprint it.
The card is so good, right?
They could reprint it with Ares' face on it, and no one would ever complain.
And I think it's so funny that in our game, a discard cost is less than a Destroy-Ready Foundation cost.
Less than?
Yeah, like I feel more comfortable about activating 1 with nature for 2/1 than I do about activating specialized ammunition for 4 damage. Because the card on the board, I need this card. It helps me pass another attack. The card in my hand, I might not even get to play this turn. Woo! You know? Partial Banana sucks as a commit. Gateway Shuffle as a hand thing? 6 damage. Let's go.
I'm going to be a massive asshole and point out that specialized ammunition reduces difficulty.
I know. I don't remember. It might legit be Finally Awake. The
card gamer brain is the worst. You just hear like useless information and you're like, I have to correct it for no reason.
When it came out of my mouth, I knew that wasn't it.
Yeah.
Finally Awake is also not in it. It discarded. This card is so bad. You want to know what Finally Awake does?
Mm-hmm.
It taps to give your mid or high 1/1.
Oh, okay, yeah. When I said it earlier, I was 99% sure that Finally Awake is commit 1 foundation. This attack gets 1/1 if it's mid or high.
Ending the dream. Ending the dream. That's the one. Finally Awake and ending the dream. That's the same thing. When you end your dream, you're finally awake. It's all the same. We were talking about. I think discard a card from hand is honestly less of a cost than Destroy-Ready Foundation.
Well, and you know why that is, right? It's a very simple formula. Because once you destroy these foundations, you have to rebuild them. If you destroy too much, you now have to cost cards out of your hand anyway, and that's why, because of like the card flow, because of where cards go in this game, and because board presence is so ephemeral. Like, you know, as far as threats go, as far as, like, you know, dealing damage, it's not a creature on the board. Discard and destruction effects are relatively the same, except when it's your opponent's turn. Like, a discard effect is going to make it so your opponent can't build as many foundations. You're going to preemptively debuild them because they have to hold more cards to block, because if I have no cards in hand, my board is not as impressive, at least without like, you know, damage reduction effects and powerful threats on board.
And thanks to progressive difficulty, you can draw 7. You're not going to be able to play 7 a lot of the time, right?
Right. And,
so like there is a diminishing returns to draw unless your deck is doing bullshit.
Right. And in the same vein where like Shigaraki, you build 4 foundations, you try to poke him, he evil gazes, and Shigaraki responses. You're back down to 2. Now all of a sudden, you're probably going to build out until you only have 2 cards in hand, and Shigaraki has 1 of each zone. He's got like a 1 in 3 chance of just hitting your ass, right? So, because of the card flow in this game, and because we get to draw back up at the start of our turn, we end up falling into these play patterns where discard and destruction are just two sides of the same coin, and that's where you get the beautiful wrinkles, right? That's where you get like all the, oh my god, if I had just played this instead of discarding it, like I would have survived.
Yeah, which is where we get the great plays, like with summon bird flock, or whatever that card is called, where you can one with nature, an ally away, build it in, and it's like I cheated the game. I sidestepped the process of playing this card in the building, and I'm going to jail now.
It's such a good. This is a good segue because the first card I opened with on Stud or Stinker was Mysterious Mr. X. I thought that card.
My heart.
Yeah,
that's a stinker. That's such a stinker.
You think so?
I don't think that card's done well, right?
If
we go by the raw metrics, it was in Fey, and Fey topped.
I'm trying to actually remember if I called it a Stud or Stinker at the moment.
Because it was in Brumley's Fey, and that Fey got like, I don't know, 4th or something.
No, so I ended up calling it a stud because it was prevalent in a bunch of different decks for like a small period of time. It was versatile in multiple different decks. I don't know if it actually hit like the mark of like topping or winning events, but I'm pretty sure it won one event, even if it wasn't like super necessary. But there's enough interactions with it throughout like Retro and Legacy and things like that. But a big thing about it was you can use it to tutor the top of your discard pile super well. So that one, it gets so tough in this game because like you can say this is integral to this Fey deck, but the Fey deck didn't win anything, right? But then you can look back and you can go, when this card dropped, it was played with Breaking Bread. And then later Cowboy Battery came out, and now all of a sudden like the top cards of our discard piles and like ally attacks and like all these other synergies matter. And then I played against Kevin Broberg, who actually was building Red Horizon cards and burning me with it and killed me with just a straight fucking burn effect once.
There was the Kill It card when Soul Color came out that would gain you 2 when it entered, and then they get destroyed.
Yeah. And
that card is so neat because it is, Mysterious Mr. X is very much not future proof.
Right.
They made a card that says, "Hey, break this. This card brings something in and then destroys it. No restrictions. Just go wild."
Yeah. So like when I first saw that card, I went, "Wow, this is super shitty. It only gives Dr. Wily +2 damage or maybe +2 speed." Like,
yeah. Well, what it does is it tries to bring Dr. Wily into the casino because you bring in pre-med and you try to build one, draw one, right?
Yeah, and get extra triggers, right? So when I first saw it, I was like, okay, this is only for Wily 2. And then I saw people play Breaking Bread with it, and I was like, oh, this is like repeatable card pool clearing and momentum generation now. And then I saw people tutoring the top card of their discard pile with it, and I was like, oh, now it's a life gain momentum generation tool. And then I was getting burned by it. So like, you're right. It's not future proofed at all, which is fine when it comes.
Yeah, which is fine because the card had a very interesting cost. Like it had a very fair cost. I feel.
And it's a 1/4 no block. No
block. Yeah.
But the biggest thing about it is it has 3 interaction points. It has technically 4, I guess, but it has like if I discard a card for cost, there's cards that care about that, and now it's the top of my discard pile. Then it has enter the staging area triggers, which is like Breaking Bread. Then it has
destruction triggers.
Destruction triggers, which is most Dr. Wily support. And then it has the top card of your discard pile for a second time. So like so it has so many tiny little things. I decided to call it a stud, even though if it did win a PTC, I can't call it off the top of my head, but I think
it's a Chad card for sure. I don't know if it's a stud, but it's a Chad card.
I think it had I think it did actually have a combo that they had to errata the other card on or change it before it came out. So I might be blinded by stuff like that.
Water freezes.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Water freezes said that your things couldn't leave your stage. So you would just build things with it. Yeah.
That's the one. Yep, that is the one. You are correct. Yeah. So I was like, this card had so many things around it that mattered. And I was gonna say if it did win an event, it was almost a UK event, almost for sure. But it had. It had stuff that had to get errated around it.
That interaction still existed, but Jessica was okay with it because it required your opponent to get smooth for a couple seconds.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because you could go Firestorm. I'm going to activate the ability. Cards cannot be destroyed this turn.
Reprint the fuck out of that card, please.
Would you like to lose? So now, what Mr. X said, it said your opponent loses 4 health or they lose the game.
Yes.
Because now Mr. X said, dude, you can build whatever the fuck you want.
And you just talked about like that discard a card cost is so not real, right? Like, it's so funny that every cost in this game I've heard someone say is not a real cost. Actually, every single cost. I have seen committing your character is not a real cost. I've seen people say discarding momentum is not a real cost. I've seen people say discarding a card is not a real cost. I've seen people say destroying a foundation is not fucking.
And these are all real costs. It's just when you build your deck around them, they don't they don't slow you down because you build your deck around them.
Right. I can't remember exactly the context, but I was talking with Nate DeWalt and he said something like, oh, well, at least Momo's more fair because she has a real cost. She has to remove a foundation. And it was literally the difference between, like, I think it was Scarlet Meteor or, like, Momo or something. And it was like, well, at least it's, like, Momo, like, has to remove it. And I'm like, dude, you get to start with Momo and play. Something like that, right? Like, whatever it was, removing the foundation was more input than whatever we were talking about. And then I swear to God, 5 minutes later in the same conversation, we were talking about, yeah, but you have to like trade a foundation for this. And he goes, dude, who cares? You get to pick this card up for free.
It's free. Like, yeah, it was Orlando. That was Orlando, yeah.
I was like, are you fucking serious, bro? Like, we just had this conversation about how at least Momo has to destroy her stage to do stuff. And then 5 seconds later, he's like, oh, dude, I love playing Momo because I get to just add cards to my hand for free.
You know what happened? He broke kayfabe. Because Nate is like a fighting game player. He understands that he needs to downplay his main at every turn.
And then as soon as his main does something, it's the best character, right?
Yeah. Like he broke the illusion. Like you have to downplay your main at every turn. You know, you gotta be like, man, Toga was like, she got 20 health. Like she just dies sometimes. You know, that's how it is.
That was Christopher Bromley. He said I stopped playing Toga and played May or whatever because I got tired of people coming for my throat. You know, he's like, I switched to Momo because I got tired of people just trying to yeet their whole hand at me turn 2.
The May thing was funny. Do you know about that tournament?
I mean, I was there. I don't.
You were there, but do you know about the story with Bromley's May that tournament?
He sided into Toga every game?
Bromley got 8th place. Mm-hmm. And May won like 2 games the whole day. Because he would just immediately side out. He hated playing May as May, dude. It was awful.
I don't think May is like that good. I think she is weirdly good against Toga. It's like one of Toga's only bad matchups somehow, and I don't really get it.
It's the same reason why I say that I get owned by like Deku too, because she's tanky and she just bumps dump truck damage and stuff. So you get caught randomly, you die. That's it, right?
You just have low input turns. Yeah. I ended up losing in teams to a May that built 1 foundation turn 1 and then forgot to first form like 2 turns in a row. And I still lost because...
you felt pressure to kill her. You know, things happen, right?
Now, I was playing the wall Toga. I was playing the world's slowest Toga of all time. I was playing the Toga that is specifically bad against May, right? Like, I was playing the Toga that actually is like May's favorite matchup because I'm a 20 health character that wants to build 15 foundations and not play more than 1 attack a turn. So that's a big part of it. But like the gamer Toga, I would imagine has a fantastic matchup into May.
Yeah, you know, it's like 29. You know,
you have 6-hander health with only 5 cards in hand. That's pretty swell.
That's awesome. Let's do it. Yeah.
I cannot wait for You Can't Escape Me to just shit on Box Full of Babies. You're just like, I will destroy one to make you a 5-hander for 1 more turn.
Dude, I cannot wait for Class 1A lineup to dunk on Box Full of Babies.
Yes, just commit that shit. Like May's
gonna try to shorthand her turn. No, get out of here. What's wrong with you?
I remember people were talking up Evil May to like fight Momos at one point, and they're like, "Oh, dude, it's so good. Your late game is super strong. You get Blood Curdle, you get all this shit." And then 2 Tokoyamis topped the next event, and people were like, "Oh, fuck that! I can't play May. People are playing Tokoyami still. I can't play May." And then 0 Tokoyamis were signed up at the next event, and 0 Mays were signed up, and Momo wins.
I want to say that the story of Set 2 is the story of the evil symbol just trying so hard, man. Because like in the limelight, you have the story of the life symbol rising, right? But in the background characters, the story of the amoeba boys, which is the evil symbol, just trying their hardest, man. Because it's like, dude, we're gonna play evil, maybe get Blood Curdle. Blood Curdle dumps Momo, and then we get all the draw and all the damage. And it was like, scatter!
And then it's like, oh, we could just do that in Evil Tokoyami, and it still doesn't matter because you have to.
And it still doesn't matter because you're playing the evil symbol, symbol that, like me, is not real. So like, I love the evil symbol in Set 2, dude. They were so good because it was like, do we get Blood Curdle? We're gonna do it. We're gonna get them. And
we get excited for blood. It's so good.
We get excited for blood.
Evil Gaze is poggers. And then you go to build the deck list and you look at your 1 difficulty foundations and you're like, fuck this, I'm playing live.
Yeah.
You look at your 1 diffs and you're like, fuck this shit. I don't care if I'm going back to tight lip symbols. I'm out of here.
Have you ever played evil without a character that taps themselves? You have 1-0.
1-0? Interesting.
Yeah, because like you don't want to play the Stain one because it doesn't do anything, and you don't want to play Stronger in Darkness because your character doesn't tap themselves. So you get Manetas.
Interesting. I'm hearing people scream in my background, so I might have to step away for just a minute. I don't know if it's an actual emergency, but we'll find out. You'd think that they might call me or text me, but
yeah.
When you say, hey, I'm going live on Twitch, that's usually like, hey, don't go screaming through the whole house for a couple hours, but people I live with don't give a shit. That being said, yeah, the evil symbol like has great interaction. It does not have good card quality, and I think that's where people get tripped up. They read the text on a card and they go, "Wow, this card is fucking sick," and then it's just not a 0 difficulty 5 check, you know. So
yeah,
can you talk to the people for 1 second, Jose? I gotta go see why the fuck people are screaming in my background. I will be right back. I'm very sorry. This is super unprofessional.
No, this is gonna be the Jose show for a little bit. It's fine.
Do me a favor. Tell them about any sideboarding you did, or just talk about the Toga deck for a minute.
Sure. Yeah.
I'll be right back.
You got it. All right. So, Sam told me to talk to you guys about sideboarding. But I am not gonna do that. I'm gonna do that a little bit later. But it's not what I'm. Your 2s and 0s, 1s don't exist in evil. Hey man, they have the Tokoyami one that gives minus speed. They have villainous entrance, which is funny. And that's it. Anyway, chat, take a look at this. We got 4 XR giant bites. We are gonna eat them up.
That doesn't have the life symbol.
I'm done with the life symbol. We got 4 XR giant bites, dude.
Okay, I had to step away because normally when people are screaming at me, it's because my cat's in trouble, and I'm the only person who can interact with cats correctly in this house. So turns out it was nothing.
Yeah, sideboarding. My sideboard was sick, actually. I loved my sideboard. Yeah. It might look a little weird when you look at it, but I loved everything about it. It was a little different from Bromley's because Bromley decided to side into 2 walklings and 2 face shields as opposed to 4 face shields.
Okay.
But that was like a last minute change, and I just decided to not do the last minute change.
It's super interesting because I'm like a 4X faith shielder like 99% of the time, even in aggressive decks, right? Like it's a defensive linchpin, but when it comes to the gamer Toga deck, I think your margins are at the point where you have to look at like, okay, if I'm playing Faith Shield, am I going to win this game? Like if I'm in a position where I have to have 4 Faith Shield in my deck, like are these games I can even actually win even if I draw and play them all? And that's such a weird concept.
It's so weird. That's the thing. Walkling lets you block with anything, right? Inside flush, the shield has to be that.
Right.
But I stuck with the 4 face shield because like you can pick it up when you check it with your training method. So like it increases the volume of that card in your deck. Because when you check a wall claim when you're training method, you have to pick it up and then build it physically, as opposed to just hold it.
Right.
And knowing that you have a face shield gives your opponent like psychic pressure too.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's the most frustrating thing about new training method to me is it's like now I can't rely on my opponent to just check their face shields away. Like,
yeah.
It's actually the most frustrating.
Yeah, so my sideboard was 4 face shields, which I would always side in going first, because they replace Ready, Set, Go.
Okay.
Except for matchups where they literally don't do anything, in which case they just become release, they become the training partner, and they would become I think only 1 face shield actually, if that was the case. Then release and training partner would come in matchups where I really need to block a little better, or like they're sending on like one huge attack that I just need to sell out to block. They would come in versus Momo, for example, or like Midnight. And then I had that 6 cards that I just rattled off, right?
I think so.
I had 2 passing the torch. I didn't main any because that card's bad. You have to commit a card for it. No.
We're at a point where passing the torch is not premier. Like
we are back to standard, baby. Let's go.
I'm glad you said it because people won't believe me if I say it, but they'll believe Jose.
Because if your deck has the insane defense of Momo, where the only thing you need is face downs and rescue complete to block everything, yeah, passing the torch is nuts. Crazy card advantage. If you're playing a deck with human blocks, I'm not tapping to draw one. I draw one for free. Like I'm good. Passing the torch was literally only in the side for hard and chop decks.
Okay.
And when I played against David Pena, I drew passing the torch and I built it and I just didn't use it because it didn't come to that.
Right. Yeah, so, it's the kind of thing where you get such a big board presence, right? You get the self-sacks down and you have just enough blocks where, like, really you're just trying to dictate tempo. And, it gets to a point where this was my take in Standard. If I have to commit a foundation to draw a random-ass card, I'm probably just going to lose no matter what I draw. You're right?
Yeah.
And so
exactly.
You can look at this card and go, nothing about this card is bad. Like, its +3 mid-block is fair. The 2/5 is undercosted, maybe. And now, all of a sudden, we're building decks where it's like, I can't afford this play pattern.
Which is what it always was in Standard, right? Like, no one played passing the torch, not really.
Right. People who played passing the torch and would activate it were always the people who I was like, oh, you're just going to die now? Like, I was never going to care about the cards in your hand because my cards are going to overwhelm your board, and so it was
white tap to draw 2 when you're at 0 when Voice of Reason always draws me 1.
Also true. Right? Also
it's the card quality difference is so big. And then the last 2 cards on my sideboard are very spicy. It's 2 plus ultras.
We got some spice?
It's 2 plus ultras.
It's 2 what?
2 plus ultras.
In a 2 what? In your set 2 character?
Yep.
Just for defense? Is this
just for defense? Just for defense.
Is this the you're gonna see David Pena in top cuts, so you need to block Gale Force angle?
This is called the I'm so sorry, Tim Keefe. Partial block, a lethal 7-speed attack, and live. That's what that's called. It's called the I don't want to die to a Chaco 2. I don't want to die to either David Pena, either his Ochako version or his Trishiba version. I don't want to die to Midnight dump trucking speed. I don't want to die to Ochako giving 3 speed to some dumb move.
Right.
I just want to be able to say I partial block this.
Interesting. So, do you think that Plus Ultra is going to remain at the very least a defensive staple? Because you're not using the offensive part of it at all. Set 3 brings modifiers to block mods instead of speed, and it creates check hack situations. And people are really high on both of those cards, the Twisting Azure Inferno and the One with Nature. Do you think that Plus Ultra kind of like, it'll still see play, especially in set 1 characters, but would you still side it? Do you think, like, in a Nats environment?
I think that I would still side it.
Yeah.
I would still cite it.
Yeah, I think it's still worth it.
Yeah.
With like a -1.
If I am a life, chaos, or air deck. Because above everything else, you always got release.
Oh, true. Okay, yeah.
You always have release, right? Which makes Plus Ultra very good all the time, right? It feels a little worse on water now, because water's entire gameplay was making something mid and then blocking it with Plus Ultra. But blocking with Plus Ultra is becoming legitimately very hard, right?
Yeah,
it is.
Where I'm going defensively in my brain has been with tape for a while now, actually. Tape, I think, is super underrated, and I'm surprised it's not dominating for the format a little bit more just from the defensive end. And it's...
Oh, I know what happened. I know what happened. At the end of set 1, tape was crazy. I was running 4 tape in my Asui. I ran 4 tape in the cut, man. That doesn't matter. But like at the end of set 1, tape was crazy because it was the pinnacle of water defense. It's be like, behold, here it is. The makes a face down and lets me block this move with a break or 2. It was everything you ever wanted. Yeah. And then set 2 came out, and things got scrambled, right? Everything was crazy. May was topping. Like people were running
dunking people.
Crazy decks. Tokami was dunking people. Momo wasn't real yet, so things got scrambled. The water symbol disappeared for a little bit for some weird reason, and no one was playing tape. Then Corey Aguilar won with a Razorhead, but a Razorhead got all the attention. Tape didn't. In fact, not even a Razorhead got the attention. Everybody just cared about Fourth Kind then.
Yeah, people were all up on Fourth Kind more than they were ever about a Razorhead. Yeah.
And then suddenly we were talking about life and things like life. And the issue with water is that water has no game against life, because what life does, it stun 6s you. Oh.
Yeah.
So tape disappeared a little bit. And I think it's going to make a resurgence because, water gets a little bit better against stun. They get a little bit better overall. And with all the moves being already mid, why not pack your deck full of mid blocks and tape?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like the water Kamui lists, and like that post Keenan Meadows kind of vibe and like the late game, I'm going to build 25 and double Frozen You kind of decks. I wasn't seeing like more than like a 1 or 2 of tape. And to me, it's like, again, I want to build around one interaction. That's my issue. Like on defense, I want to do the same thing because that one thing is so good. I think my crowning achievement is actually convincing Tamarin Cardwell to convince me to play Terry 1 and work on a deck with him, because it was very weird because offensively Terry's just not super great, right? Like offensively he required your opponent to have input and all these hoops to jump through, blah, blah, blah. But that didn't matter if I had the defensive engine of Cormorant, Elk Shield plus Terry. And so, for me, building like a defensive engine sounds super cool. I want 4 copies of tape. I want all the speed hate, and I want 5 mid blocks in my hand.
Yeah, I agree. Especially, have you seen Water's mid blocks? They are so mean. They are so rude.
And like, you get a repeatable zone change on Self-Assured. Like, there's almost no reason not to just sell out for a mid-zone +0 breaker package, Faith Shield. Like it.
Yeah.
I don't want to play the water symbol, Jose. Don't make me play the water symbol.
Like, for what it's worth, I would have played 4 tape in Kamui. Every day I play Air Kamui, I regret that I cannot. This is how it is.
Yeah, and so I think with the next set coming up, it's going to be super interesting. Nats is going to be an aggro fiesta, right? It's all these really powerful, strong interactions are coming out, and everyone's focused on bonuses to my checks and overwhelming you with one with nature and all this other stuff. But at the same time, historically, defensive decks have done the best once we, get a grip on the meta game. Do you have any picks for Nats? We've been at this for almost 2 hours. I kind of want to wrap this up a little bit. So I think we're going to end with some predictions for Nationals. Do you have any picks for Nats?
It's going to be a very weird format. because of set 3 being supplemental. I think we all agree that at the beginning of a set, aggro is king. And in the middle of a set, it's a control mirror, everybody hates it, and at the end of a set, aggro becomes king again.
Yeah. Well,
now, I'm not going to call this a pattern, because it was me both times. So it might just be a weird fluke situation. But I think, especially in set 1, because Kirishima was so good, right? But like...
Well, I'm going to say this really quick, though. Yeah. The 2 Kirishimas that were in finals at the end of that provisional were the 2 most aggro Kirishimas. They were the 2 least control Kirishimas.
You're right. Yeah. So, that makes sense. So, what I'm thinking is going to happen for Nats is we're going to see a lot of bird. That's the free square. Bird. Sure. We are going to see Momo still. Still Momo. Momo's going to be there. She might not top, honestly. She might not top.
Right.
It might be that situation. But we're going to see her there. She's a comfort pick for a lot of people. You know, Kevin might just want to play her and have fun with that.
She gets great new tools. She gets great new assets.
And I want to congratulate everyone that wants to try to figure out how that deck looks, right?
Deku's notebook on a cannon blast or a home run comment, like, oops, you just get zone checked. Like,
yeah, it's very good.
She can do it multiple times in a turn if she needs to with certain ways. Like, it's crazy.
It's crazy. It's very good. So Momo's going to show up. I was thinking of something. A death deck. Either Toga or the Razorhead is going to figure out how to run the new death packet, and they're going to run wild with it. I think it's going to be a death 7-hander that really gets to it. I have my crazy, weird brain prediction. Like, this is the actual prediction. This is my actual call. I don't think Toru 2 is going to top at all.
Oh, no, of course not. The character is secretly booty butt cheeks. People don't know how she works.
Secretly?
The majority of people who I think who have seen like Toru 2 is going to be super nuts. Only like one of them knows when the enhance actually fires to check for the bonus. And I have beaten Toru's just off using self-sacrifice to stay at like 3 foundations and block. Like, if your ability is +1 speed, I can block on 3 foundations and kill you on 3 foundations. Even with her response to look at the top card of my deck and make me check a second time, like, you just don't put any pressure on me, right? And I have beaten it with 14 foundations in my stage, and release just counters her almost completely. It's very weird. I think the character overall is just...
People are very high on her. And, like, ideally when people are very high on a character, one of them manages to top, just to sheer numbers, right? And my prediction is that is just not going to happen.
Real quick, though, the one other thing. This is the card that's missing from Toru decks. I don't even think water is her best symbol, but I get why people are wanting to infiltrate sticky balls. Here's the card you're missing. If you want to play Toru Hagakure 2 you fucking need to play Tentacle Strike. You need to block the first attack with Tentacle Strike, and then when you bounce their attack, you get to clear your card pool and commit their best foundation. And nobody I've seen has been fucking doing that. When it leaves for any reason, you get to R remove and commit something. It's not super good, but it's
a only water? Is that only water?
It's only water. I'm pretty sure Tentacle Strike, I'm going to double check. It should be air, chaos, and water.
That's rough, because like that would have been so sick and good, Toru.
It's like air evil. It's air evil water.
It would have been cool in any other symbol other than water. But yeah.
So like
that's a big interaction. People should do that.
You know, it's the one combo I haven't seen a single Toru do to me yet. It's the one reason I thought about playing Toru 2 and then I looked at it and went, I can do this on Kirogiri and evil, and it's better. Just now I looked at it and saw it's evil and went, oh, wait, Kirogiri just does this. You can do it on air Toru, which is kind of sick, and then you can do like Nitro Ignition stuff. But then I'm doing Nitro Ignition stuff on your turn, which means I blocked with 2+1 mid blocks, which means I'm a 6-hander, so I'm actually just dead.
I will say, I think Ojiro is very good.
Yeah.
I think Ojiro is a little nasty with it. He's a little bit cranked, if I can be honest with you.
Ojiro's currently my least favorite deck to play against, specifically because I think it's just under the threshold of being like a meta staple or like a real contender for a finals. But it's so solid that if you don't have a good draw, if you go second against it and you just don't have a good draw, you just get fucking annihilated. Like
it's like Ochako 2, basically. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's very Ochako 2. It's very Ochako 1-ish in the sense that like yeah, like Student of the Art plus the Rapid Punches Hardened Barrage lineup, like that kind of a thing where you're just like, I'm gonna open with one, add the other. It's now like a 7/7, and it doesn't count towards progressive. And then I play Karate Chop, and now it's stun 3. You flip 1 +3/+3. Pick up the other hardened that
aggro 7-handers, man. Aggro 7-handers.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, 6-handers. Aggro 6-handers.
No, he's a 7. It's pretty easy to add that one back.
It's pretty easy to add that one back, but it's also very interactable.
Right. But the main reason is that I don't have him like way up there, is sometimes you're just going to draw 2 or 3 attacks that are the same zone, and your Student of the Art isn't going to be enough to just get you that card back. So I think he's just outside the threat of being a champion deck.
I just think he's going to top.
Yeah, I think he'll top. I think he's fun enough, and someone out there is going to love the deck enough that he will top, and he gets to play some of the best attacks coming out. So I think your top 16 could see an Ojiro 2 easily.
Yeah, even your top 8.
How do you feel about Recovery Girl? Because Recovery Girl is the current like flip-flop of she's a 0 or 100, right?
I don't want her to top.
I don't want her to either, but so I'll say this, playing against it casually without like a game plan, like I think I played a 0-2 with Searing Glacial Storm in it, like against the Recovery Girl, and that was like my deck that I was prepping to beat like a set 3 Momo. And then I played it against a Recovery Girl, and I just had no game into it. I had no win condition. I had no ability to pressure her. I had no... You know what I mean? Like, she doesn't want to block. I don't want to stuff her card pool just to clear it and draw a card. She's stuffing my card pool because it was a water version. So the So Manly card was just like, stuff your card pool, destroy it, rebuild it, stuff your card pool. Good job attacking me twice.
I think that your Recovery Girl is going to be like a TAM deck.
Yeah.
It's going to go 5-3. It's going to go 5-3. It's going to eat 5 people alive, but then it's going to run into 3 Tokoyamis, right?
Right.
It's going to run into Kirishima Tokoyami, someone that just doesn't care about what she's doing, right?
Yeah, so she has some really strong like speed and damage resets, and it's really interesting that like trying to build the good version I thought was going to be the best version because You're So Obvious is flexible and it destroys itself naturally, so you get to build it back. Like you get to go, I'll take printed and then build it back. I'll take printed and then build it back. And it just that doesn't actually work with people who have modifiable stats, right? That doesn't work once you start playing against skilled players who are going to sequence like, I'll put +1 damage on this, save my other +3, and I'll do 1 more than I would have, type of a thing.
Yeah, and like it gets dunked on by very funny stuff.
Yeah, and I think the other thing with the Recovery Girl is that early 5 hand size bricking, like the now the mulligans are way more favorable than they used to be, so it is tough. But 5-handers still brick pretty often. That was Cement Toss's issue, was I build 3 on average at most.
I think Heroic Strike decks are gonna eat Recovery Girl alive too.
Yeah.
Because it'd be like, oh, I get to build this deck, stun 4. Oh, okay.
Fuck you.
Fuck you. Yeah, things like that. Yeah. Stun grenade decks get to do that too.
If you can make Recovery Girl blow up 2 foundations to start recycling the foundations that she wants early, you're probably in a good spot, right? You commit down, self-sack, and release.
Yeah. And like something people just just refuse to talk about for some reason. Knock knock. You have no game into a Razorhead. What are you doing?
I don't know if you saw my tier list. My 3 S tier characters were Asui, Eraserhead, and Recovery Girl. And Recovery Girl was with the caveat that I haven't figured out exactly what to do against her, but she's good against Asui and not so much Eraserhead. So, I don't really know. I put her up there just because she could be like a full-on gatekeeper, and I think Recovery Girl is good against Asui, and I think she's good enough against Eraserhead trying to like string against you. But Eraserhead with Twisting Azure Inferno might just start going, +2, +2, +2, +2, +2, plus, like I have 4 actions in my hand type of shit. But
it's not even that. It's like you go Twisting Azure, Responder Race, you don't get to your rebuild thing. It gets +2 damage. Do some other thing. Or even then, you could just be the meanest. You could be like Respond, Erase for +2 damage plus Ultra. Give it 2, it's for 16, 2 speed, it's a 7 mid 16, and your character is off. On all your checks get -1, all mine get +1, and then he's like Stun Grenade.
Yeah, like I'm super down to play Denki 2 into Recovery Girl, right? Like I can block a couple throws, I can sideboard
all the time in the world, right?
Yeah, I can sideboard training with Gunhead, and then eventually I can either burn your whole life with the sludge attack, or I can just tap your whole board. And then if you're building 1 because I hit you, whatever, Denki 1 as well, where it's like, okay, you can build all the shit you want. I'm going to have as much momentum as I need to kill you,
She's really bad into Shigaraki also.
Yeah, I could see that. So it's one of those things where if you're a 6-hander or you're a 7-hander who relies on just putting some stats and playing 4 or 5 attacks, Gamer Toga, I think I said that Gamer Toga is specifically a little bad into Recovery Girl, but could still just have the sheer volume to get there anyway.
Yeah. I can see it being bad against the So Manly version.
Yeah, because you're actually just trying to play those 8 attacks, and Recovery Girl will get access to things like Creepy Realization, right? So it's really going to depend.
Yeah.
The main thing is she doesn't have that Cannon Blast win condition in the same way. I don't think she gets to pay for Cannon Blast in the same way. The idea of committing 2 foundations for the bonuses and then destroying those 2 sounds really neat. But again, are you winning those games? Is that really a winning play, right?
People go like, dude, you can make Cannon Blast a throw. You can make
Home Run Comet
a throw. But what you cannot do is tutor up the necessary previous attacks to make them worth going through. Like, are you really going to make Cannon Blast a throw and expect it to go off against a life deck when you didn't previously pressure them with 3 other activations of attacks? Are you telling me that your game plan is to draw 5 orange card in your 5-hander?
The game plan is to build 4 copies of Passing the Torch and do your best May impression. So early testing.
You get dunked by Patty Squabble. Let's go.
True. You can get, Recovery Girl might be the thing where you actually need to start playing cards like Learning the Standard and first or Villainous Entrance or whatever, where it's like, that's cool that you built it. It's not usable.
Hero Killer.
Yeah, Hero Killer, right? Yeah. So that's the big thing is there are answers to her. They're not popular answers, but that's because decks like her aren't popular, right? So I fully expect it to be like a Mineta 2 thing where people talk about it, hype it up, you come ready for it, and you never see it. But at the same time, I had to put her there because I do think that it is a serious deck. It's just going to be the kind of thing where if Recovery Girl is not a total absolute flop because aggro is just nutty nuts, I do think she's going to gatekeep most of the cards I put in A tier. So that's the issue.
I think that she is the design that is very scary.
Feast or famine design.
Yeah, but she gets, like, I think the reason why she gets to exist is because they saw her and they were like, oh, this actually just like, this is like normal good.
Well, yeah, I think what happened is people wouldn't play Johnny Cage because he builds things in committed and you couldn't actually use stuff. So, like, all your cool little, oh, I get to build this. You like had to play God of Thunder and like all these other things to make it work. So they said, okay, how do we fix that issue? And this is a very common issue with card game design where they say, okay, here's an effect that people won't play because it's too heavily costed. So how do we get them to play it? We change the cost. Or in this case, we change the condition, right? We make it a little faster. And then you completely reverse the dynamic from it being like unplayable to too good just by removing one part of it.
To be fair, I'm not going to talk so much trash about Johnny Cage because I know what the character is capable of, right? Like, we know Johnny Cage is capable of doing things. And to be fair to the Mortal Kombat designers, stupid set, idiots, all of them, Johnny Cage was always meant to be in a world where God of Thunder exists.
Right.
It's the same set.
Same set, right.
Same set, yeah. So it's like, in some way I get it. This character needs God of Thunder, but when they do get God of Thunder, the card pull quality that Johnny Cage has access to is millions of years above Recovery Girl, right?
Yeah, luckily no one's really put a ton of time into Johnny and, you know.
I know one guy. I know a guy.
I wasn't done. I was going to say, and showed up in Top Cuts dunking people.
Damn!
You know, that's the thing is like the Johnny Cage players, similar to what I was talking about earlier, right? Where it's like, I'm so focused on this one interaction. They're so focused on having this really cool toolbox rather than like finding a just game-winning strategy, because that's how different people play the game, and that's fine. Yeah. And then in that format as well, again, five-handers just have such bad chances of opening hands just fucking bricking, right? So, yeah, like the appeal for Johnny Cage players has been I get this awesome toolbox of all of my symbols, even off symbol cards, completely off symbol, and it ends up being like not a super consistent deck, but it's very cool and it does very unique things. Recovery Girl doesn't have the option to do very cool, very neat things. She only has the option to try and build in powerful interactions to survive the game. Like, there's no engines, there's no cute loop tricks you can do in the game. Nothing's repeatable. Nothing is, everything has this finite closed loop to it pretty much. And so Recovery Girl is stuck just playing value-based cards. The synergies don't really exist. So that being said, in my testing with Recovery Girl, I am undefeated. So I've not had anyone beat my Recovery Girl, but I've only played against Void Eraserhead, not Death in Twisting Azure Inferno Eraserhead. So
okay, that's fair. And I can see how Void could still have issues killing her.
Yeah, and so the Void deck was like all high on like, oh, I have training with Gunhead out, and I was like, that's fine, my brother. I have 18 foundations, and I have 4. Literally, it took 4 copies of Passing the Torch, though. Like when I was saying the do your best May impression, I was not joking. I was miserable playing the deck because I would play one attack. It was a 0 gravity lift most of the time. I would draw 4 cards, and I would go, I have one other attack. I will build and pass, And I've only played it into Void Eraserhead, and I've only played it into Toru Hagakure 2. So 2 decks that are down to give me all the time in the world. The Void Eraserhead was very momentum hungry, so it was like, as long as I didn't let him just pile up like a shitload of momentum and Recipro burst me, I'm fine. I had ways to deal with, like, I just had to face shield around Acceleration Kick correctly, like stuff like that. So I haven't found the deck that has like a 100%er, right? Like a overwhelming matchup against Recovery Girl, but I don't think she's going to be positioned super well against the Tokoyamis of the world.
Okay, I see that. I can see that, yeah.
Oh, I take it back. I tested Recovery Girl into Water Asui, and I lost one match against Water Asui because they actually just sealed every single one of my Passing the Torches with Irrefutables. I got like turn 3 to buy double Irrefutable, remove, seal Passing the Torch. I have 1 block. So they did get me on that one.
It's gonna hype.
And they did it like both games. It was like I didn't have access to actual card draw. I was just looking at my so that was a thing, right? Like I did lose a match to an Asui because my discard pile was like 4 attacks and 2 foundations. So it's
because you don't even have like discard control.
Right. So it's I didn't have access to my discard pile. I had to blow foundations up to even get to rebuy them. I didn't have the right stuff. So, like, I looked at that matchup and I went, okay, if that happens, like, that happens, right? Like, there's only so many games you can look at and say this is typical.
Did you just get, like, hosed by Giant Bite?
I thought about that, actually. I've thought about, like, what if you just Giant Bite Recovery Girl, but I feel like average matchups, if you're not using Giant Bite on, like, 2 or maybe 3, it's probably not super valuable, because she's probably looking to just add anything to her discard, or to her stage most of the time.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's true.
But if I am in a world where, like, I need this creepy realization and I need to, like, reuse it, Giant Bite does fuck on you really bad.
Yeah, that's great. I see that. Yeah,
but that's a really good point, right? Like, staggering positivity. There's a lot of cards that fuck with Recovery Girl. I just don't think people are going to play them. You know? Cero fucks on Recovery Girl pretty bad, too, because he does have lots of stats, and you're never going to really fully block anything that you want to anyway. And Cero can actually put you in a position where it's like, okay, I know what your block zone is. I'm going to make you full block this so you don't get to build something, and I get to, you know, I get to do all my cool sequencing stuff. So, yeah, Recovery Girl is super hot topic, super wishy-washy, but who do you have, what character do you have winning Nationals?
Winning?
Yeah, you got to pick one character to win Nats. Who is it? Who do you got winning Nationals? You can pull up the character list if you have to. You can pull up my tier list if you want. You know, give you some help.
You know, put up the tier. Put it up. Put up the tier list. I wanna see it.
Put it on screen.
Yeah, put it on screen.
Let me see if I can do that. I did not save like a screenshot of it. I can.
That's fair.
I can do this.
Like I'm thinking, like I have the initial thought in my head, like the first thing that jumps at me.
Let me do this.
And I don't know if that's correct because it might be a little inconsistent.
Oh, this was a little bit better. All right, let me pause this. I can bring this over here.
I have my first thought.
I can full screen it, and then I can put this window capture up. Let me do this. Nope, that's not giving me that option. Huh. I think I can do this. Window. I guess I have to do a new window. It won't let me switch it to the YouTube's. Add a new source. Okay.
And my name has been Don Gato the whole time.
Yes, it has.
What a world.
It's been Jose is not real. Don Gato is real.
Don Gato is real, yeah.
Don Gato
which is separate from Fido21, who we don't like.
Yes. Fido21, total asshole. All right, I'm going to transition. There's the tier list. It'll take a second for it to pop up on your screen.
Yeah.
The quality is very shitty on this pause, but it's where we're at.
Okay. There's a me tier.
Yes, yeah. So
I only listened to this video. I gotta watch it again.
So the tier, I might have cut it off because I had a bunch of pre-roll stuff.
Yeah.
But so the tiers are, the serious tier is if we were a 3-deck, if we were a triangle rock paper scissors format game. This is the format I think it would be. Eraserhead
and E-Head would be Burning Abyss because he beats both, yeah.
Yeah. So Eraserhead beats the other two, right? He's the rogue wedge deck. And then Oswey and Recovery Girl are like the two extremes. You know, they're the two hyper decks that beat everything else. And then the field is the decks I expect to see a lot. And it's really funny. I put Coda in the field because I think he's just generically so powerful. And his play pattern is actually super fun. And I put May in the field specifically because I think a bunch of people are going to be trying to play her with a lot of the new evil cards. And then the Jose/JJ tier is, I would not be surprised if Jose or Jacob Johnson topped with this character, but it would require a character specialist player to do it otherwise. Locals is the C tier because it's decks that can dunk your locals, but you know, probably not the best. And then
I would put E-Hit 2 in JJ tier. I would put E-Hit 2 in Jose.
Yeah, you'd bump him down.
Because he's kind of hard to actually kill people with.
So yeah, I think E-Head 2 a lot of people are just really high on. So again, this is what to expect, not a power level tier.
Yeah. Okay. I love how you have the mics facing each other. That's so funny.
The what?
Look at the bottom. The mics, they're facing each other. They're talking to each other.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they're just talking to each other.
Yeah. It's Tokoyami. I say Tokoyami. That's what I'm putting out. I think it's Tokoyami.
Ooh, interesting. Okay, yeah, that's a pretty good pick. And if Tim Keefe is on Tokoyami, that's my pick too.
If you have someone that just knows the lines, someone that can play that hard aggro, that hard aggro that requires proper sequencing, that not on rails aggro. And they draw decent, you're dead.
It's a deck that never misses the kill turn, right?
It can. It won't anymore, though.
Yeah, it's just never gonna be like, oh, I only have 24. Whoops! Like it just doesn't.
What set 3 gives Tokoyami is the ability to come back home to the chaos symbol.
Yeah, you think so? I love Sugar Rush with Twisting Azure. So.
Oh, I love Sugar Rush too. Sugar Rush is crazy, but Twisting Azure is so huge. But I legitimately don't think that you need the consistency hit of the more blue card anymore.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, Fire does get some really really nice stuff too, but Chaos has always had that awesome defense. It's just been waiting for a character to put the card draw together on it, and that's the only reason I think Fire would still edge it out. Actually, is because latent skill gives you that. Can't whiff the backswing kind of a turn.
Yeah, but you get the foundation base, which is really important, I think. And then Frozen Slash doesn't have fire, and that card is just crazy for Tokoyami.
Okay, I could see it.
The continuous plus bonuses. So I think it's either fire or chaos. One of them does it.
Yeah, I'm torn between Asui and All Might 3. All Might 3 I didn't put in the super serious tier because he still has this weird built-in counterplay. But I hate to say it, I'm starting to think that just generic draw 2 is so good. And again, I'm going to put us back on. I don't like that. I don't like the idea that generic draw 2 is strong enough to just build around, because his speed and damage is just tacked on, right? It's just a tiny little bonus.
It is.
It's just very cool. People really fret about it, but even when he's giving +4 speed to things, I'm not that worried. It's good. All Might is gonna be busted if he can get to a point where he can put +4 damage on something and you still can't block it, right?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
I've almost exclusively seen All Mights put speed on things unless you have 2 cards in hand and they're playing Hardened Job. So I think with set 3, we're finally going to have enough numbers and speed and stats and things like that, and he'll finally have enough stun. He'll have an overload of stun where he can realistically use cards like Chivalrous Competitor to give you cards in hand, and it won't backfire.
Okay, all symbol.
The punches are on that symbol. Good is not going to be the All Might symbol going forward.
Heroic
Strike is really good, but I don't know, man.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go for my vibes here because I am a vibe gamer. I'm not a math gamer like Mitchell is.
We're a vibe guy.
I'm a vibe guy.
Very good at chess, I assume.
I can feel the threes on top. Oh, you know it. You know we always know what we're drawing because we have them vibrations in the Toga deck. Damn it, it was a good joke. I wanted that. Okay, so what? I think that All Might 3 is just cursed.
Yeah.
I think he's a bridesmaid character.
Yeah.
Dad, Chris Smith, he was able to do it with him because he believed in him so hard that he cried a single tear and revived him.
That game 3 was so fucking weird, wasn't it?
Right. That's what I'm saying, dude. That was, that was the universe trying its hardest to make that. To make that not happen.
Just two characters back and forth, oh man, you're wide open. If you don't even half block this, I can win. I'll play 2 attacks. Oh, my 2 attacks didn't do it. Pass the turn. Oh my god, you played 2 attacks and now you're wide open.
Ah.
I'll just play my 2 attacks. Oh, it wasn't enough. Like, it's like, just wait till you have 4 attacks. Just take one fucking turn off and wait.
I think all my 3 is just cursed. I legitimately think so. I don't think he's going to do anything just based on vibes only, which is the best metric, of course, naturally.
True. True. Well, I think that's how Tim Keefe ended up on Tokoyami, right? He was like, let me build this to test against, and then it was just so good, he was just vibing with it, and he won the first regional.
Set 2?
Or set 2, sorry. I meant to say I was about to say of Orlando, and then I was like, wait, that's not true.
Actually, he won the first regional set 2, also the second regional.
Yeah, he won the second regional. Yeah. He won the first one of set 2 in Vegas.
The first in-person regional, I would say.
Yeah. We have so many caveats, right? Like we said, we had to say the last regional of North America because the UK players are going to get some stuff. They're going to get some... Yeah. Organized play, and we didn't want to snub them, so it'll be really interesting to see.
It's like how I am the undisputed king of online regionals before a set release. It's just how it is.
Yeah, well, and it's super funny because I want to cap things off with this because to me we've had a lot of rhetoric of set 2, but to me set 2 is actually the story of Christopher Bromley because he mirrored the format from the beginning to the end, right? He was like, I'll play May, it'll be slower, I'll get all this value, it'll be awesome, oh shit, this isn't working, let me switch to Toga. And then he was like, I played Toga, and then everyone tried to just fucking dump on me immediately, so I got tired of that aggro fourth kind bullshit. Like, when I played Toga in Pasadena, Miles Tyler read my character, after game 1, he played Ida 1, after game 1 I win, he picks up my character and goes, yeah, you don't do shit defensively, and he takes fourth kind out. And I'm like, oh fuck, here we go. We're fourth kind gaming now. Like, this is the game where I just have to fucking pray to God it's not a tape swing as the fourth card every turn.
Bromley really did just an interpretive dance all over the format.
Yeah, and so then he hops to Momo because Broberg's like, all right, this Momo shit's working. He's like, I'm just tired of motherfuckers trying to kill me. And then he runs into fucking Asui, and it's like, god damn it, this Asui shit's a thing. Like, so everyone has to hard tech against Asui now. And
it was a real comedy of errors, right?
Yeah, and it wasn't
he builds this really cool Jiro deck. I steal it. He keeps going for the May. May sucks. It's Toga.
Yeah. He's like, it wasn't until it beat Christopher Bromley and just like he had to check multiple 3s and have have only 5 cards in hand to block 5 attacks instead of the 8, before things got changed and banned. And then by the end of it, we've come full circle. It's now back to 7 hand size, aggro, come for your life on turn 2, overwhelm things. So it was just super interesting to watch, even if it wasn't the same character, it was Dex trying to do the same things he was doing, right?
Yeah, Bromley was always ahead of the game.
Yeah.
Sometimes a little too ahead,
He just had his finger on the pulse the whole time.
He does. I say that I don't build my own decks because it's like, why do that? When Bromley's got it, right? When Bromley just knows what's up.
Yeah.
I'm going to build my own deck for Nationals because I love Coda. I want to play him. But, we're still going to have that Bromley input, right?
Right. Absolutely. And it's such a good testing partner.
It's the virtue. I really am lucky that I just happened to be taught the game by an absolute insane person.
Mad scientist. That's
I will say, by the way, guys, I wanted to say this. If you ever want to teach the game to somebody or demo the game, people are gonna say, "Oh, demo them with something that's easier, that's fun to play against, or something that's noob friendly."
Blank.
You need to demo them with whatever makes you happy.
Yes.
Even if they lose, even if they're getting dunked on, if they feel that you are enjoying every aspect of the beatdown, they are going to like it. So I think that's the most important part.
That is a very unique take. I've not heard that one yet. Just beat them with a smile.
Yeah, to do something that makes you happy. Don't beat them with a deck that's noob friendly that you aren't really into. Just beat their ass with Quan Chi. I don't care.
Well, we've been at it for over 2 hours. I want to thank you guys in chat for being there with us. I want to thank you, Jose, for joining me. I'm going to plug UnFun stuff really quick. I got the referral code plug in. You can save money. Go to unfunstuff.com. I also have a referral for new players, which I forgot to put on the screen. But if you have any new players at your locals who have not signed up on the UGN yet, we have the pre-release coming up tomorrow all throughout this weekend. You can use the code ACE, ACE. There's a little drop-down menu when you first sign up. Put in ACE. They'll get 50 loyalty points, which is enough to redeem immediately for a promo card. And then they'll get bonus loyalty points at the first two events, the first two locals that they actually play in. So I'm very thankful for Jasco for partnering with me on that for onboarding new players. And I'm going to have a Ultimate Beginner's Guide hopefully coming out either tomorrow or over the weekend. But do you have any plugs, any shout-outs, anything you want to say, Jose, before we take things off?
You got me. All I needed to shout out was Bromley, and I'm gonna say I need everybody to stop saying that Set 2 wasn't impactful. It literally changed everything.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. I don't think we technically had the same format more than maybe 2 events in a row, right?
Yeah, and there was like a period where everybody just thought Momo was 100% unbeatable.
They certainly didn't like playing against it, that's for sure.
They certainly did not.
Well, I have had an absolutely wonderful time. It is always a blast to hang out with you, Jose.
Thank you for having me, Sam.
I am going to take off now. Hopefully you all have a wonderful weekend. I hope you all enjoy your pre-releases. I will see you next week for another Orange Card, Blue Card. Peace out, everybody.